The bear was 3 feet from my face, and I couldn't see anything. Not its teeth, not its eyes, not the massive paw above my head. All I could hear was its breathing, hot and heavy and wet. Something dripped onto the snow beneath my paws. My pack was already running. I felt them through that strange sense in my head, 4 glowing shapes. They were sprinting away into the trees. They left me behind, alone. The runt, the blind one, the mistake, the pup who couldn't keep up. Even on a normal day, I lagged behind. Then the bear roared. The sound went through my bones like a wave of crashing thunder. I should have been terrified completely. I was terrified beyond all words. But somewhere deep in my chest, something else woke up. Something cold. Something whispered one single word inside my skull. Lock on. Then I understood. The useless skill I had mocked for 3 months wasn't useless after all. It had just been waiting for this moment to explain how I arrived. Blind, 4-legged, 1 second from becoming bear food. I must take you back 3 months earlier to where it started, to the most embarrassing death ever. To the day a coffee mug ended the life of Daniel Reyes, engineer. I died because of a ceramic mug. I want that on official record. Not a war, not a hero's sacrifice, not even a cool car crash. Stupid coffee mug. It slid off my desk at 2 in the morning. I bent down to grab it. My office chair tipped backward without warning. The window behind me did not survive. The last thing I saw clearly. City lights spinning like a slot machine in the night sky above me. The last thing I thought was, of course, this is my punchline. Then everything went black. For a long time, there was nothing at all. No light, no sound, no body. Just me, floating in something cold. I had time to think. Too much time. I had time to regret. I regretted skipping my sister's wedding for a project deadline. I regretted everything. Then something pulled hard, like a hook in my chest, yanking me forward. I tried to scream, but I had no mouth to scream with. I tried to grab something, but I had no hands to grab. And then, suddenly, I had both. And neither was what I expected. I opened my eyes. Nothing happened. I tried again. Still nothing, just black. A black so complete it felt like someone had poured ink in. I tried a third time because my brain refused to accept it. That's when the real panic kicked in. The bad kind. The screaming kind. I could feel my eyelids moving. I could feel them blink naturally. I could feel my eyelashes brushing against something soft. The world stayed dark. Perfectly. Absolutely. Soul-crushingly dark. I tried to scream, and what came out? A tiny wet squeak, like a hamster being annoyed at someone nearby. Which was concerning, because last I checked I was 180 pounds tall. Very much human. Hamsters do not weigh 180 pounds, last I checked. I tried to move my hand. Something twitched on the ground below. Something small, with claws. I tried to move the other hand. Same. I tried to move my legs. 2 more small things twitched below. At the bottom of whatever body I now lived in. 4 legs, 4 small, furry, clawed legs connected to a body like bread loaf. With a tail. I had a tail. I felt it wag once involuntarily. I almost passed out from horror. I, Daniel Reyes, former senior developer, certified human, had been reincarnated as a wolf pup, a blind wolf pup. The universe was laughing at me. I lay in the dark for hours, what felt like an hour, listening to sounds I couldn't place anywhere, smelling things that made absolutely no sense to me at all then. Wet fur, old blood, pine. Something musky and warm filled the air, and underneath it all, the breathing of 3 other small bodies nearby. My littermates. I could hear them snoring. Actual baby snores. Tiny, ridiculous sounds. If I hadn't been having a full-body identity crisis, it would be cute. Then something massive moved above me. The air shifted before the breath. A wave of warm musk rolled over my face like a blanket. Something enormous was sniffing my entire body in one slow, deliberate inhale. And I realized 2 very important things at the exact same moment. 1, this creature could swallow me whole without even chewing at all. 2, it didn't. Instead, a tongue the size of a baseball glove, it dragged across my face. Rough, heavy, weirdly gentle in its touch. My mother, apparently. Welcome to my second life, hosted by a creature that could end it with one bite of her jaw. She nudged me with her nose toward the warmth, and I bumped. 3 other puppies curled against her belly. They smelled different from each other, one sharp and clean, one warm and milky, one slightly sour, like bread. My nose was doing things my human nose had never done before. I tried to look at them. 3 decades of having eyes is hard. That's when the real fear hit, the kind that lives in your stomach. I was blind. Actually, permanently, no light whatsoever blind. Forever blind. In a forest. In a body the size of a sandwich. Surrounded by predators I couldn't see, including the one currently breathing on top of my head. I curled into the smallest ball I could manage and let myself shake. Not crying, because wolves apparently don't cry, but making sad little sounds. My mother licked the top of my head once. Slow, like she understood. She couldn't, but for a second it helped anyway. Just a little. Then something else happened. Something I didn't have a name for yet. I was trying to picture the cave when suddenly I felt it. Not saw. Felt. Like an outline pressed against the inside of my skull. The cave was small and curved. There was a bone near the entrance. Cold air leaked in. My mother was a huge, warm shape arched over us. My 3 littermates were small, glowing dots pressed against her belly. I could feel all of it, without seeing any of it. I froze. Then I tried it again on purpose. I focused on the space around me, and the outline got sharper and sharper. I could feel the shape of the cave walls, the texture of the dirt, a small beetle crawling across the ceiling 15 feet above my own head. A small beetle, 15 feet up, in total darkness. I felt it, every leg, every twitch, like a tiny dot of warmth glowing inside my brain. Okay, new body, new rules. Apparently, when the universe took my eyes, it threw in a consolation prize. Some kind of weird invisible radar thing. I tested it for hours that first night while my littermates slept. I looked at the bone near the entrance and felt every crack along it. I looked outside the cave and felt the shape of 3 pine trees, a fallen log, and something small and warm sleeping in a burrow nearby. A rabbit, maybe. My new nose suggested rabbit. For the first time since I died, falling out of an office chair, I actually smiled. Or tried to. Whatever a wolf pup does with its face, that means a smile. My tail thumped against the dirt twice. I noticed it. I let it happen anyway. Welcome to my second life. Blind, tiny, useless. With a weird invisible radar I didn't understand yet. Things were looking up. Sensing up, at least. The next morning came with a problem I hadn't planned for. Food. Or more specifically, the lack of it. The thing about being a runt is simple. My mother brought back a small dead animal and dropped it on the cave floor. I felt the thud through my paws before I smelled the blood there. My 3 littermates exploded toward it instantly, snarling, shoving, biting each other with that little puppy aggression. All fury, zero plan. I tried to follow the sound. I lunged forward, slammed face first into one of my brothers, bounced off, and landed flat on my back in the dirt. By the time I got back up, I could feel them already tearing into the meat. There was almost nothing left. Maybe scraps. Maybe not even scraps. Great. Day 1 in the new body, and I was already losing the food race to creatures who couldn't spell their own names, or any names ever. My human pride wanted to fight back. My human brain knew better. Charging into a pile of biting puppies was how you lost an ear by day 2. So I waited. I sat back in my corner and I used the new sense to watch. Not them, the food itself. I focused on the warm shape of the meat. Through their wriggling bodies, I felt every chunk getting smaller. I felt where they dropped scraps. I felt the small piece that rolled away. When they finally waddled back to Mother, full and sleepy, I walked over very calmly to that piece by the wall and ate it. Slowly, quietly, smart. It tasted like raw meat, which my human brain still found disgusting. My wolf body did not care. My wolf body declared it the best meal ever made. I told my wolf body to be patient. We were playing a long game now. My mother lifted her head and looked at me from across the cave silently. I felt her gaze before I knew how to describe it. A warm, focused pressure on my face. She had been watching the whole thing unfold quietly. The corner of the cave was supposed to be where the weak pup starved, not where the weak pup quietly ate dinner while the others fought hard. I felt her tail thump once against the cave floor, a small thump, almost like approval. I didn't know if wolves approved of things, but I took it. Days passed, then weeks. My eyes never came back. I stopped expecting them to. The strange sense, on the other hand, grew stronger every day. I could feel the world in shapes and pressures now, like an invisible map drawn directly onto the inside of my brain, sharper every morning. I started naming my littermates because what else was I going to do? Treat them like wolves. The biggest one I called Bruno. He shoved me a lot. The middle one, who never shut up, I called Yapper. The smallest of the other 3, who was actually pretty chill, I called Quiet. A good kid. Quiet started sleeping next to me by week 2. I don't know if it was because the others bullied him too, or because he liked my weird vibe. Either way, I had my first ally in this forest. He was 8 pounds and smelled like mud, but he was mine. The blind boy had a friend now too. By week 3, I could walk in a straight line without falling. By week 4, I could run. By week 5, I could climb the small rocks outside. My mother stopped carrying me by the scruff. She even stopped checking on me as often. She had noticed something other wolves don't. That's when I made my first real discovery about this strange sense. It had limits, a range, about 30 feet at first, expanding slowly with time. Anything outside the circle was completely invisible to me. Inside it, I knew everything, every twig, every breath, every heartbeat nearby me too. I tested this constantly. I would creep to the cave entrance and scan the forest. I could feel deer trails. I could feel old bird nests too. I could feel a fox 3 weeks in watching us from 40 feet out. Just outside my range. But close. Always too close for my comfort, always. I told my mother, or rather, I tried. I barked at the spot where the fox was hiding, low and serious, the way I had heard her bark before too. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she stood up, walked exactly to where the fox was, and the fox bolted into the trees instantly. Gone. She came back and licked my forehead, slowly, carefully, like she had just understood something about her smallest pup that she had no words for. The other puppies noticed too, eventually. Bruno noticed first, because Bruno noticed any opportunity to be a problem in someone else's life, always. He started testing me, walking quietly toward me when he thought I wouldn't know, trying to bite my tail when I was sleeping. Small things at first. Every single time I felt him coming. Every single time I moved at the last second, and Bruno smashed into a wall or a rock or his brother nearby. The first time he ran face first into the cave wall trying to ambush me, I heard the bonk echo for a full second through the stone walls of home. I do not laugh, as a wolf often, but that day I did. A small wheezy sound that came up from my chest before I could stop it, worth every bit too. Bruno did not appreciate this. By week 6, Bruno hated me. He would stare at me with that specific puppy frustration that demanded real answers. You're wrong, and I do not know how to fix it. I could feel his hate the way I felt the rest of the forest. A warm red shape near me always. I made a mental note. In the wolf hierarchy of this cave, Bruno was going to grow into the biggest threat in my immediate daily life. Probably soon. Not a bear. Not a hunter. My own brother, who had decided very early that the blind kid was getting too much attention from everyone around him. Cool. Adding family drama to the list of things I had to survive. Right under wolves, winter, and being 31 inside a baby's wolf body. Excellent. Truly, the universe had outdone itself this round. I gave the universe a slow, sarcastic mental clap from inside my tiny wolf brain. Week 7 brought the father. I knew he was coming before he arrived. I felt him from over 100 feet out, a shape large and focused on us. He registered on my new sense like a thunderstorm walking through the trees. The forest went quiet as he moved. Even the birds stopped singing. He entered the cave, and my mother lowered her head immediately. So did Bruno, Yapper, and Quiet. Every single pup rolled onto their backs flat. Pure, total, automatic submission. This was the alpha, the father, the reason this pack existed at all. The wolf, who built everything around us. I rolled over too, because I'm not stupid. I might have been a former office worker, but I had read enough about wolves to know better than that. Meeting the alpha for the first time was not the moment to test independence. It was the moment to look small and harmless. So I did exactly that. He walked from pup to pup, sniffing each one. I felt his breath move across the cave like wind. When he reached me, he stopped completely cold. He sniffed once, then again, then a third time, longer this time. I held very still. I could feel his shape towering above me. Massive thing he was, easily twice the size of my mother. Black fur, a scar across his shoulder, old healed teeth marks on his neck. A wolf who had survived things hard, things that had tried very hard to kill him and failed. He bent down, his nose touched my forehead, and he stopped breathing for a long second. I'd been keeping my eyes closed because, well, what was the point? But the alpha's pause was long enough that some old instinct opened them up. He was looking at me, really looking, and he had just realized something. My eyes were milky white. Quiet had told me, in his own way before this, by sniffing my face and making a confused little whine. The other pups had golden eyes. Mine were the color of fog, empty, wrong somehow to look at. The alpha stared into those fog-white eyes for a long moment. He didn't growl. He didn't pull back. He just stared. And then he did something next. He licked the top of my head once, very gently. Then he turned and walked out of the cave without making another sound or another single small move. My mother let out a breath I didn't know she had been holding. Bruno made a small angry sound from across the cave. I ignored him completely there. Quiet pressed himself against my side. And me, the blind runt, the office worker turned wolf, lay there shaking. Because I had just realized something big. The alpha had not rejected me. He had not killed me. He had not even shoved me to the back of the cave like a defective product to be tossed away. He had marked me as his. And in this forest, in this pack, being claimed by the alpha was the difference between living and not living another day. Things changed fast after that. By week 10, I was running with my littermates outside the cave. The world expanded around me overnight completely. By week 12, I was hunting small things on my own, beetles mostly, the occasional unlucky mouse. My new sense made tracking embarrassingly easy. I could feel everything that moved within a 40-foot bubble around me. The problem was that I couldn't catch anything fast. My body was small still clumsy, still blind. I could find the rabbit. I just couldn't outrun the rabbit. Watching prey glow in my radar and walk away every day too. That became a daily insult, like watching dinner say goodbye and leave the restaurant. But something else was developing, something I hadn't noticed yet. It only happened in specific moments, whenever I focused really hard on a single moving thing, a single target. The world around it went quiet then. The other shapes faded, the trees blurred. There was only me and the thing I was tracking, just us, just the hunt, just the breathing target alone. And in those moments, a word would appear in my mind. Not a thought. A word. Cold, clean, almost like a notification popping up on a screen. Lock on. The first time it happened, I was chasing a squirrel. I locked on, the world fell silent, and somehow my next pounce hit perfectly. Clean catch, too. I caught it. I, the blind runt, caught a squirrel. With my mouth. On purpose. I almost dropped it from sheer surprise at my own success that day. I told myself it was a fluke. The next day it happened again and again. Whenever I locked on, my body moved better, faster, cleaner, sharper too. Like someone had taken the controller from me and started playing on expert mode for one perfect second. Like cheating, but legal somehow inside. I had no idea what this was. I had no idea where it came from. I just knew that whatever cosmic intern had handed me, this body added extras to it. Something the others didn't have. Something the others couldn't see. Including me, technically. I started calling it the system, engineer brain talking. Whatever it was small, limited. I could only lock onto one thing at a time and only for a few seconds before it dropped me from focus. After each lock-on, my body felt drained for an hour, like I had run a marathon on 3 hours of sleep. So I treated it like a tool. Carefully always. I didn't show it off. I didn't burn it on dumb things. I saved it. And every time I used it, I learned something new about how it worked inside me. I was patient. I had been patient my whole human life. Patience was the one thing I knew how to do better than almost anyone else around me always. Then came the day I almost died. The day everything I had built crashed into a single moment with no escape, and no time left to think clearly at all. It was late in week 13. The pack had moved deeper into the woods for a hunt, and I had wandered slightly behind, the way I always did each day, mapping the forest with my new sense. I was getting cocky. My bubble was 40 feet now and growing. I felt safe. I felt like I belonged there now. That was the exact moment the bear stepped into my circle. He came from above me, from a ridge I hadn't bothered scanning that whole morning at all. By the time I felt him, he was already on top of me. A shape so massive my new sense couldn't even map it all at once. Just a wall of dark fur. A wall of muscle and fur and teeth and rage. 20 feet away, then 10, then 3. My pack scattered immediately. I felt them all run away fast. 4 shapes sprinting away through the trees, and I couldn't blame them. That's what wolves do when something 3 times their size shows up loud. You run, you regroup, you survive. But I couldn't run. Not fast enough. Not blind. Not against something this big and this clearly hungry for me. The bear roared, and my eardrums felt like they had been slapped from both sides at once. Hot, wet breath rolled over my face like thick, wet steam. I could feel the shape of his paw lifting above my head, ready to come down. One swing. That was all it would take. One swing and it was over for me. Daniel Reyes, version 2, would be a smear on the snow. 2 deaths in less than a year. A new personal record. I really didn't want to set this soon. Something inside my chest went very, very cold. And then the word came. Clean. Calm. Like a notification I had been waiting for my whole life. Lock on. The world fell silent. The trees blurred. The wind stopped. There was only me and the bear. Just the two of us, alone in this single frozen moment. And then, for the first time, the system gave me something new. Not just a target. A spot. A single glowing point on the bear's body. Bright and clear. Right where his neck met his shoulder. Pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. Like a button waiting to be pressed. A weak point. Just one. Right there. A second word appeared underneath it. Just one word. 3 letters, glowing in the dark of my head like a sign nobody else could ever read. SSS. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't have time to figure it out. The bear's paw was already coming down toward my small, fragile little wolf skull. So I did the only thing my software engineer brain knew how to do when a system gave me an option I had never seen before in my entire life. I clicked on it. I locked onto that glowing point on the bear's neck. I gathered every ounce of strength my tiny blind body had left in it. And I jumped. Drop a comment if you think the blind boy actually pulls this off. Or if he's about to learn what bear stew feels like from the inside of one. I clicked, and the world exploded into a kind of silence I had never felt before in either of my 2 lives. Time didn't stop. Time just got polite. The bear's paw was still coming down. The snow was still falling. The wind was still blowing through the pines. But all of it moved at half speed, like someone had grabbed the universe by the throat and slowed it down just for me, just for 1 second, just long enough to make a single choice. My body moved before I told it to. 3 months of being clumsy, blind, and underfed. 3 months of falling on my face. And then this moment. I jumped. Not up, not back. Forward. Straight at the bear's shoulder where the glowing point pulsed slowly like a small heart inside the dark. My tiny mouth opened. My tiny teeth, sharper than I had realized, closed around that exact spot. Not near it, not close to it, on it, perfectly on it. The system guided every muscle in my body like a hand on a steering wheel. I was the passenger. The driver was something I didn't fully understand yet. Then the second word in my head flashed. SSS. 3 letters, brighter than before. And underneath them, 2 new ones I hadn't seen yet. Strike. Something inside my jaw moved, not by muscle, by something else, like the system had borrowed my body and added power I shouldn't have had. Hot power. My teeth went through fur, through skin, through muscle, through the thick artery hidden underneath. A blind wolf pup, through a grown bear's neck. I felt it happen the way you feel a key turn in a lock. Clean, precise, final. The bear made a sound I had never heard any animal make before in life. Half roar, half cough. A surprised noise, like he had just been told a joke he didn't understand. His paw, still falling toward my head, went limp in the air. For half a second, his eyes met mine. I couldn't see them, of course, but I felt them. Felt the moment he understood what had just happened to him here. A blind pup, smaller than his own paw, had just ended him. The look in his fading shape said something close to disbelief. Then nothing. And he was gone. I dropped to the snow. The bear stayed standing for one more second. Then his front legs folded, then his back legs folded, then his whole body fell down. The ground shook when he landed. Snow puffed up around him in a white cloud, and then everything went quiet again. Real quiet. Forest quiet. I sat there, mouth still open, heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my paws. My new sense was screaming with information I couldn't process yet. The bear's outline was fading from my radar, getting colder, less bright, less alive. I was watching, in my own strange way, something die. Because of me. A 31-year-old former office worker, in the body of a blind wolf pup, had just killed a fully grown bear by biting its neck exactly once. I sat down. My legs had stopped working. Not from injury, from shock. Pure, animal, human, soul-level shock. My brain was filing complaints to a manager who didn't exist. That's when I noticed the cost. It hit me all at once, like someone pulled a plug out of the back of my head. My new sense flickered, then dimmed, then shrank. From 40 feet to 20. From 20 to 10. From 10 to maybe 4 feet around me. My radar was almost gone. My body felt empty. Worse than empty. Hollow. Like I had been scooped out from the inside. My legs shook. My breathing was shallow. I tried to stand up. I fell over. So this was the price of SSS. One use, one body, one nearly dead wolf pup lying next to one fully dead bear in the middle of a forest I couldn't see. I tried to crawl. I managed about 3 feet. Then I collapsed face first into the snow. The cold felt good. Honestly, the cold felt amazing right now. I might have laid there forever, quietly with my dead bear, having a peaceful little wolf nap, if something hadn't come crashing through the trees nearby. A shape. Big. Fast. Familiar. I tried to scan it with my radar, but the radar was almost gone. I tried to growl, but my mouth wouldn't cooperate now. Then a tongue dragged across my face. Rough. Heavy. Slightly panicked. My mother. She had come back. Of course she had come back. She always came back. She sniffed me, then the bear. Then me again. Then the bear again. Then me again with a noise that was somewhere between a question and a whimper. I felt her freeze when she understood. Not the kind of freeze a wolf does when scared. The kind a mother does when she realizes her child did something. Something impossible. She picked me up by the scruff like I weighed nothing and started carrying me back toward the den. Slow, careful, almost reverent. I drifted. The world bounced around me as she walked. Snow, pine, cold, warm fur. My eyes were closed, but they were always closed. It didn't matter. I felt the other pack members long before we reached them. Their shapes lit up in my fading radar like small candles. Then we entered the den, finally. Bruno was the first one to see us. I felt his outline freeze. Then Yapper. Then Quiet, who immediately rushed forward and pressed against my side warmly. My mother dropped me gently on the soft dirt. And I just lay there, breathing, not moving, not thinking, just existing in the warmth of the cave again. Then I felt him. The alpha. He was already inside, sitting near the back, watching. He had been waiting. He had probably felt something the moment it happened. I don't know how, but I knew he knew. He walked toward me slowly. The pack parted for him without a sound. His massive shape filled my fading radar. He stopped right above me. He sniffed my head. He sniffed my mouth. He sniffed the blood on my teeth that I hadn't even noticed was there until now. Then he looked at my mother. Some kind of silent conversation happened. The kind of conversation that only happens between two wolves who have built a life. She made a low sound. He made a lower one back. Then the alpha did something I will remember in every life I ever live, in every body I ever wake up in. He lay down, next to me, the leader of the pack, the wolf twice the size of my mother, the one who could end me in one bite. He lay down right beside me, his huge warm body curled around mine like a wall, like a shield, like a statement to the rest of the pack. This pup is mine. This pup is protected. This pup just killed a bear, and you will all remember it. I almost cried. I'm not embarrassed to admit it. A blind wolf lying next to his father, crying. Quiet pressed against my other side. My mother lay down at our heads, and for the first time since I died, falling out of an office chair, I felt safe. Not safe from the cold, safe, real safe. The kind of safe that lives in your bones. The kind of safe I hadn't felt since I was a human child in bed. I slept. I slept for what felt like 3 days. I don't actually know how long it was. When I woke up, my radar was back. Stronger than before, actually. 40 feet had become 50. The shapes in my head were sharper. The textures were richer. The system, whatever it was, had grown while I slept inside. Like a muscle. You tear it. It rebuilds. It comes back bigger. Apparently, almost dying counted as a workout. Note to self, try not to do that too often. The cave was quiet. Most of the pack was outside. Only my mother was inside, lying near the entrance, watching the trees with one eye half open and resting. I tried to stand. My legs worked. Slowly, but they worked. I walked over to her. She licked my forehead without saying anything. I licked her cheek back. It felt like a normal wolf thing to do. I was still surprised every time I did something instinctive, like my body had wisdom my human brain didn't have. Then she stood up. Slowly. She walked toward the entrance. She looked back at me once. "Come on," the look said. "You're not a pup anymore. Walk with me." I followed her outside. The sun was up. I couldn't see it, of course, but I could feel its warmth on my fur. The forest smelled different in the daylight, brighter, sharper, full of small lives moving through the underbrush. I scanned everything. The forest opened up to me in shapes and pressures and patterns. Then I noticed something I hadn't seen before, a new word, faintly glowing in the corner of my mind. Small, quiet, easy to miss if you weren't looking. Bond, mother. I stared at it inside my head. I didn't know what it meant yet, but my engineer brain immediately started running theories. A relationship, a connection, some kind of tracker? I focused on the word. It expanded slightly. Below it, a new line appeared. Distance, 0.4 meters. Trust, high. Online. So, the system knew who I had bonded with. The system knew where they were. The system knew how much they trusted me. This was technically terrifying, but also extremely useful. My software engineer brain immediately wanted to bond with everyone in the pack just to test the feature. I held myself back. I had no idea what triggered the bond, or how to add new ones, or what the cost was. I would learn slowly. I would test carefully. I would not break it. We walked through the forest, my mother and I. She was teaching me something, not with words, with movement. How she stopped to scan the trees with her ears. How she sniffed each bush carefully before passing it. How she walked downwind whenever possible. How she avoided patches of bright sun. Hunter lessons. I tried to copy her. Most of it I already knew from instinct, but the human parts of my brain were terrible at it. I had to relearn what every wolf knows. Then she stopped. Suddenly, her whole body tensed. I scanned around us. My radar caught it at the edge of my range. Something big, something moving. Not a bear. Smaller, faster, lower to the ground, two of them, coming our way at speed. I felt my mother's hackles rise. I felt mine rise on instinct. Then I caught the smell. Sharp, metallic, wrong. A smell that didn't belong in this forest. I had smelled it once in my old life, but I couldn't place it. Then I remembered. It was the smell of guns, of oil, of metal and human sweat. My mother had not encountered this smell before, but I had, from documentaries. There were dogs out there, hunting dogs, and behind them, two humans with rifles. My new sense lit up with shapes I had only seen in nature programs. My heart dropped into my paws. We were a quarter mile from the den. The pack was still scattered. My mother and I were exposed, alone, in the open path. She looked at me. Even without seeing her, I felt the look. The pure mother fear of someone realizing her child was in danger she couldn't fix alone now. She nudged me hard with her nose. "Run," the nudge said. "Run back to the den, now." I started to run. Then I stopped. I turned around to look at her again, because she wasn't running. She was facing the dogs, lowering her head, spreading her stance. She was going to fight them. Buy me time. Die for me, maybe. Absolutely not. I was not going to let that happen. Not in this life. Not after what she had done for me. Not after the Alpha curled around me to keep me warm. I scanned my system. Lock-on was there, but my body was still recovering. Using SSS again would empty me completely. I would die. So would she. Unless I used the radar differently, not to track, to plan. I focused harder than I ever had before. I expanded my range. I felt the whole area. The dogs, the two hunters, the terrain, a rocky slope to the east, a frozen creek to the north, a thick patch of brambles to the west, escape routes. My engineer brain went into overdrive. If we ran north, the dogs would catch us on the open ice. If we ran east, the hunters had a clear shot at the slope. But if we ran west, into the brambles, the dogs would be slowed by the thorns. The hunters would lose their line of sight, and we could circle around. I barked at my mother. Sharp, short. The kind of bark that meant, "Follow me." She looked at me confused. Then the dogs got close enough for her to hear them. She made a decision. She trusted me. I felt her trust through the bond marker in my head. The number ticked up, from high to something even higher than that. I ran west. She ran after me. The dogs caught the change of scent and pivoted. The hunters shouted something behind them. I felt their shapes turn fast. We hit the brambles full speed. I let my radar guide me through every gap, every twisted vine, every patch of clear ground hidden under the thick mess. My mother followed exactly in my paw prints. She trusted me completely now. The blind wolf was leading the seeing one. The world had officially gone backward. Behind us, I heard the dogs yelp as they hit the thorns. One of them got tangled badly. The other tried to follow us anyway. He was faster than expected. I felt him gaining on us. Big, lean, bred for this exact job. My mother could outrun him for a while, but not forever. And he had the scent. He wouldn't stop. I needed another plan. Fast. My radar swept the area in front of us. The creek, the frozen creek, thin ice and patches, deep water underneath, cold water. I changed direction, hard left, toward the creek. My mother followed without question. The dog gained on us with every second. I could feel his hot breath now. The ice came up. I knew exactly which patches were thick and which were thin. I felt them in my radar like a map of safe and unsafe zones beneath us. I led my mother across the thick patches. Light, fast, careful. The dog followed at full speed. He didn't know the ice. He didn't have the radar I had. He hit a thin patch at full sprint. The ice cracked under his weight. I heard the splash. I heard the yelp. I heard the desperate scrambling that followed. He was in the water. He wasn't going to drown, but he wasn't going to chase us anymore either. The hunters would have to fish him out. We had bought time. We kept running, through the trees, around the slope, back toward the den from a completely different direction. My mother stayed right behind me always. When we reached the den, my legs gave out. Again. The system cost was lower this time, but my body still wasn't fully recovered from the bear. I collapsed. My mother stood over me, panting hard. The alpha came out of the cave. He scanned us. He smelled the fear and the dog and the metal on our fur quickly. His whole posture changed. He understood instantly. He looked at me. He looked at my mother. She made a small sound. He made one back. They had a conversation. The alpha walked over to me. He sniffed my forehead. Then he did something he had never done before. He pressed his forehead against mine, just for a second. A new word lit up in my mind. Bond, father. Distance, 0.1 meters. Trust, high, online. The bond list now had 2 names. Mother, father. My pack was growing. That night the alpha gathered the pack inside the den. Even Bruno, who hated me. Even Yapper, who never shut up. Even Quiet, who pressed against my side warmly. The alpha made a sound, low, long, almost like a song. Every wolf went silent. He was making an announcement. I didn't speak wolf, but I understood it anyway. This pup is one of us. This pup hunted a bear alone. This pup led my mate through a hunter's trap. Whoever challenges this pup challenges the whole pack now. Bruno stared at the floor. Yapper looked nervous. Quiet wagged his tail proudly like he had personally accomplished something himself. I almost laughed at him. Then the alpha did one more thing. He turned to my mother. He made another low sound. She bowed her head. He bowed his. Then he turned and looked at me again. A new word appeared in my mind. Bigger than the others. Brighter. Glowing strong inside the dark of my skull. Pack status. Accepted. Title. Hunter. Hunter. I, the blind pup, the runt, the office worker who died because of a coffee mug, had just been declared a hunter of the pack. At 3 months old, it was the kind of moment that should have felt earned. Instead, it felt like cheating. Like I had taken a final exam with the answer key tucked under my paw. But I would take it. I would take every win this forest threw at me. After a lifetime of being passed over in offices, I was not about to refuse a promotion now. I lay down between my mother and Quiet. The alpha lay near the entrance, watching the night. The cave smelled like family, like fur, like safety, like home. For the first time, I let myself think it. Maybe this wasn't a punishment. Maybe this wasn't the universe laughing at me. Maybe this was a second chance. Maybe Daniel Reyes had died for a reason. Maybe this small, blind wolf body was exactly where I was supposed to be. Maybe everything before this was just practice. Then a new word lit up in my mind, quietly. So quietly I almost missed it in the warmth of the moment. Just one line, just a small notification glowing dim. Warning. Hunters detected within 2 miles. They have your scent. They will return tomorrow. I stared at it. My stomach went cold. So did the rest of me. The hunters weren't done. They had lost their dog. They had lost their target. But they hadn't lost the trail, and they were going to come back stronger, with more dogs, more guns, maybe more hunters. They had seen something today. A wolf that led another wolf across cracking ice in a perfect escape pattern. That wasn't normal wolf behavior. Hunters noticed that kind of thing. The smart ones, anyway. And from the way they had moved through the brambles, very fast, the hunters who had come after us today were the smart kind. I lay there in the warmth of my pack, listening to my mother breathe, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait for them. I wasn't going to let them come to us. I was going to find out who they were, what they wanted, and how to stop them. But first, I needed to grow. I needed to test the system. I needed to learn what lock-on and SSS really were and how often I could safely use them. I needed to understand the bond system. I needed to know how far the radar could really stretch. I needed to figure out the rules of my new body fast, because if I didn't, the next time the hunters came, my pack wouldn't make it. And if my pack didn't make it, then what was the point of this second life? I had been given something here, something rare. A family, a purpose, a body that had a hidden cheat code nobody else in this forest knew about yet. I wasn't going to waste it. Not for anything. Not for anyone. Daniel Reyes had spent 31 years being patient, careful, and ignored. That guy was dead now. The blind wolf was just getting started. And the hunters out there in the dark, with their dogs and their rifles, had no idea what was coming for them next. I closed my milky white eyes inside the safety of my pack. My radar stayed open, sweeping the trees outside, listening, watching, mapping every single sound. Somewhere out there, 2 hunters were sitting around a fire thinking about the strange wolves that had outsmarted their dog today. Drinking coffee, probably. They thought they had time. They thought tomorrow they would come back, find our tracks, and finish the job they had started. They thought wrong on every count. Because tomorrow, when they walked back into this forest with their guns and their plans, the forest would not be the same forest they had visited today. Tomorrow, a blind wolf pup with a system in his head and a pack at his back would be waiting for them. Tomorrow, the rules of this forest would change forever. I let myself drift off to sleep with that thought. The bond markers in my head glowed softly. Mother, father, my family, my pack, my reason to keep going. Drop a comment if you'd protect your pack the same way, or if you grab the cheat code and run for the hills as fast as your 4 legs could carry you. I woke up before sunrise. The cave was still dark, but my radar didn't need light. I could feel every breathing shape in the den around me, calm and warm. My mother, the alpha, quiet, curled against my belly, Yapper twitching in his sleep. Bruno on the far wall, as far from me as he could get without leaving. The warning was still glowing in the corner of my mind. Hunters detected within 2 miles. They will return. Still online, still waiting, still patient. I had until they arrived to learn everything I could about this body. Every limit, every cost, every hidden function the system hadn't shown me yet at all. I slipped out of the den without waking anyone. My mother lifted her head once, watched me go, then lowered it again. She trusted me now. That was new. The forest before dawn was the quietest version of itself. Most predators were sleeping, most prey was hiding. The air was thin and cold and full of detail. I walked to a small clearing about 100 paces from the den, a place I had scouted weeks ago, a place where I could test things without being watched. Step 1. The radar. How far could I push it? I sat down in the center of the clearing, closed my useless eyes, and reached out with my mind as hard as I could. 40 feet, easy. 50 feet, familiar. 60 feet, took effort. 70 feet. The edges started to blur. 80 feet. My head started to ache from inside. 90. Pain. My ears rang. Something behind my eyes felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. I forced myself to push past it for one more second. 100 feet. The world bloomed open. Every tree, every burrow, every sleeping creature within a 100-foot circle showed up in my mind, all at once. And then my nose started bleeding. I felt the warm drip on my fur before I understood what it was. I pulled the radar back to 60 feet. The pain faded. Okay. Lesson 1. The radar had a hard ceiling at around 100 feet. Pushing past it cost me real blood. Worth it for emergencies. Not worth it daily. Step 2. The lock-on. I scanned the clearing and found a small bird perched on a low branch about 20 feet away. Sparrow-shaped. Tiny. Quick. Perfect target. I focused on it. The world went quiet. The bird's outline got sharper. The familiar word appeared in my mind. Lock-on. Followed by a number I hadn't seen before. Rank. D cost. Minimal. Interesting. So targets had ranks. D was apparently the easiest tier. I held the lock for as long as I could. The bird hopped twice. I felt my body lean automatically, like a sniper adjusting to wind. I held. I waited. The bird turned its head. A tiny weak point glowed on its small neck. I didn't pounce. I let the lock fade. The bird flew away. I noted the experience instead. Lock on rank D cost almost nothing. I could probably hold it forever. But the bigger question was the strike. SSS had killed a bear in one hit. What was the cost ladder? Did smaller targets have smaller strikes available? I needed a bigger target, not bear-sized, not bird-sized, something in between. I expanded my radar and started searching the area for something to practice on. A rabbit, 40 feet out, eating berries on a low bush, perfect mid-tier target. I crept toward it the way my mother had taught me. Downwind, low, quiet. When I got within 10 feet, I locked on. Rank, C, cost, low. A weak point glowed near the rabbit's spine, just behind the shoulders. Clear, easy, inviting. I pounced. The lock-on guided my body. My teeth landed exactly on the glowing point. The rabbit died instantly without a sound. Clean, efficient, beautiful. I felt the drain from the lock-on, but it was nothing compared to the bear. Maybe 10% of my energy. I could do this dozens of times in one day easily. I ate the rabbit, slowly, thoughtfully. While I chewed, the system gave me another notification I hadn't seen before. Hunter XP gained. Rank D, 12%. Experience points. Of course, because the universe had reincarnated me into an RPG and forgotten to mention it. I almost laughed. I almost cried. I just ate. I needed to test SSS again, but carefully. I didn't have a bear handy. I didn't want one handy. What I needed was a way to trigger SSS without dying. I sat down and thought about it the way I used to debug code. The first SSS had triggered when the bear's paw was about to crush my skull. So the trigger was death. Not danger, not fear. Actual, imminent, no other options death. That made SSS a panic button, not a regular tool, useful only when nothing else worked. Which made sense. The cost was nearly fatal. The reward was a one-shot kill on a target 3 times your size. That kind of math only made sense in last resort. So SSS would have to stay hidden until I needed it again. Fine. I would build the rest of my toolkit around the assumption that I had one big bullet in my gun. I trained for the rest of the morning. Lock on small targets, radar at safe distances, bond tracking when I scanned my pack from far away. All of it worked. The bond markers were the most interesting. I could feel my mother's position from over 500 feet away. The bond ignored my radar's normal range completely. I could feel her direction, her rough distance, and her trust level. If she got scared, the bond would glow brighter. If she relaxed, it would dim slightly. Live data. A live emotional feed of the people I loved. Useful and slightly horrifying at the same time. I made a mental note never to tell her about this if she ever asked. Wolves probably don't ask questions like that. But still, privacy was privacy, even between species, even between a blind son and his very large mother. By midday, I had a basic understanding of my tools. Radar, 60-foot comfortable, 100-foot emergency. Lock-on, free for small targets, costly for bigger ones. SSS, strike, lethal, but you nearly die using it. Bonds, long-range emotional tracking of trusted pack members. Total ammo count, limited, but workable for now. Now came the hard part. Using all of this against humans. Humans were not bears. Humans had weapons. Humans had distance. Humans had brains. And dogs. Lots of dogs. I had to think differently. A wolf could not win a fight against a hunter at 30 feet with a rifle. A wolf could only win by never letting the fight happen. That meant prevention, surveillance, misdirection, making the hunters give up before they ever found us. Software engineer brain unlocked. This was a debug problem. I headed back toward the den, mapping the surrounding forest as I went. Every escape route, every hiding spot, every dead end, every patch of thin ice or steep slope. By the time I reached the cave, I had a mental map of every advantage and disadvantage within a mile of our home. My memory had always been good. Now it was perfect. The Alpha was waiting at the entrance. He had felt me coming back. His huge shape filled my radar like a small mountain made of fur and quiet patience. He sniffed me. He smelled the rabbit blood. He smelled the dirt from my training spot. He smelled something else, too. The faint dried blood from my nose earlier. He made a low sound. A question. I made a small sound back. A wolf-shaped "I'm fine." He didn't believe me. He never believed me when I tried to lie to him. Wolves apparently have a built-in lie detector based on smell. Another reason being a human had been suboptimal. I had wasted 30 years bluffing in offices. He looked toward the forest, then back at me, then toward the forest again. He knew the hunters were coming. He had been watching for them since dawn, maybe. I made another sound, this one harder. A plan-shaped sound. He tilted his head. Wolves are smart, but they don't speak English. I had to show him, not tell him. So I did the only thing I could think of. I walked to a patch of soft dirt near the den entrance, and I started drawing with my paw. Lines, circles, arrows. The Alpha watched me like I had grown a second head. Which, fair. A wolf pup drawing tactical diagrams in the dirt was probably not something he saw every day. But he watched. He didn't walk away. He didn't growl. He just watched. And after a minute, he sat down next to me like he was attending a very strange meeting. I drew the den, then the forest around it, then the path I thought the hunters would take, then the rocky slope I wanted to use as a choke point against them. I had no idea how much he understood, but I felt the bond marker between us pulse warmer in my head. Trust high. Going higher. He was paying attention. My mother came out of the den. She looked at the drawing. She looked at me. She looked at the Alpha. Then she lay down on the other side of me and watched too. For the first time in my entire life, in either of my lives, I had a real audience. Not coworkers checking their phones, not bosses pretending to listen at all. Two wolves who were giving me their full, complete, undivided attention. Because they knew something was coming. And they knew I had ideas. And they trusted me. I almost cried again. I really had to stop doing that. Wolves don't cry. I was a wolf now. Wolves were stoic. Wolves were dignified. Wolves did not weep at meetings. Quiet came out of the den. He padded over and sat next to my mother. Then Yapper. Then, finally, even Bruno. From a safe distance. But he came. He came too. The whole pack, except for the one or two adults out hunting, was sitting around my dirt diagram, watching the blind pup draw battle plans like a tiny general. I felt the bonds in my head light up one by one. Quiet. Trust. Medium. Yapper. Trust. Medium. Bruno. Trust. Low but stable. He didn't like me, but he respected this. The Alpha made a long, low sound. Not at me, at the pack. The pack went quiet. Then he put his huge paw on my dirt drawing and pressed it down firmly once. A statement. He was endorsing the plan. Whatever the plan was, whatever they thought it was, they were going to follow it. Because the Alpha said so. Because of me. I lay down next to the drawing and let the relief wash over me. I had built something. With my brain. With my body. With 3 months of being thrown into hell. Then the Alpha stood up. He looked toward the forest. His ears went forward. His tail went up. Every wolf in the clearing went still at the same time as well. The bond markers in my head flared. Mother, alert. Father, alert. Quiet, alert. Trust levels held steady, but the warmth had been replaced by something colder. The hunters were back, earlier than I expected. The warning in my head updated itself. Hunters detected within 1 mile. Approaching from the east. 1 mile. 40 minutes of walking. Maybe 30 if they pushed it. Not much time. Not enough time. But more time than nothing. The Alpha looked at me. The plan was now. I stood up. My legs were tired from training, but my mind was sharp. I scanned the area one more time. My radar reached out to its safe limit at 60 feet. Nothing close yet, but I could feel the bonds. I could feel them in a different way. The pack was 13 wolves total. I had bonded with 5 of them now. That meant 8 wolves I couldn't feel directly, 8 blind spots, 8 risks. I needed to think about that later. For now, I had 5 solid signals to work with. The Alpha made a sound, a call. The two adults who had been hunting came running back within minutes. The bond with my mother flared bright. Trust, high, higher. The whole pack assembled at the den. I walked to my drawing in the dirt. The alpha walked next to me, side by side, like equals, like co-leaders of one strategy. I tapped the dirt with my paw at the rocky slope, the choke point, the place where the trail narrowed between two big stones, a place where two could pass at a time. I tapped the path the hunters were taking. Then I tapped the slope again. The alpha looked at it. He looked at me. Then he made a sound I'd never heard him make, a specific bark, short, sharp, coordinated. The pack moved, like a single body with 13 parts. 3 wolves went east, 3 went west, 2 stayed at the den. The rest, including me, my mother, and the alpha, moved toward the rocky slope, toward the choke point, toward the place where I had decided to make our stand today. We took up positions in the rocks. I climbed a small ledge that gave me a perfect radar position over the trail below. My mother stayed close. The alpha went lower. We waited. The forest was quiet again. The kind of quiet that means something with intelligence is moving through it. I felt them on my radar at the edge of the range. 4 hunters this time, 6 dogs. They'd come prepared. They had brought more men. They had brought more dogs. They had probably brought more guns too. But they hadn't brought what mattered most. They hadn't brought me. Or rather, they didn't know they were about to walk into me. And that was their problem to solve. The hunters reached the start of the rocky slope. The dogs sniffed the ground furiously. They had picked up our scent. They started baying. The hunters laughed. They thought they were closing in. They thought they had us trapped. They thought the wolves had been foolish enough to run straight back toward their home den. What they didn't know was that the den was not where they thought it was. The trail they were following had been laid by 3 of my packmates this morning early. Fresh scent, going in the wrong direction. Toward a dead end. Toward a cliff. Toward a place where 4 men with rifles would find absolutely nothing at all. While they wasted their time at the false trail, the rest of us would circle behind them, cut them off from their escape route, and make this forest their last hunt. Not by killing them. I was clear on that with the alpha through the dirt drawings. We would not kill the humans. Killing humans brought more humans, worse humans. We would take their guns. We would scare their dogs. We would destroy their equipment. We would make this place feel cursed, and they would never come back. The hunters reached the rocky slope. The dogs barked. The lead hunter raised his rifle. He scanned the rocks. He saw nothing, because there was nothing to see yet. I waited. My radar tracked all 6 dogs and all 4 humans. Their distances, their movements, their breathing, their heart rates as they got nervous in the open. When the lead hunter stepped onto the choke point, I gave the signal. A single, sharp bark. The alpha echoed it. The pack moved like one creature in the trees. 3 wolves howled from the east. 3 wolves howled from the west. The dogs panicked. They didn't know which direction to face. They turned in circles wildly. The hunters raised their rifles. They aimed at the trees. They couldn't see anything. The howls came from everywhere at once. The forest sounded full of wolves. I scanned the lead hunter. I locked on. Rank, B, cost, medium. A glowing point appeared. Not on his neck, on the strap of his rifle. The leather strap, specifically. I pounced from the ledge above him. The lock-on guided me perfectly. My teeth closed on the strap. I yanked. The rifle came loose. It clattered against the rocks below. The hunter shouted. He tried to grab me. I dropped to the ground and ran into the rocks before his hands closed. He fired his sidearm at where I had been a second ago. The shot hit stone. Sparks flew. I felt the heat of the bullet pass 3 feet above my back. Closer than I wanted. Much, much closer than I had planned for here. The alpha moved next. He came out of the rocks like a black storm. He didn't attack the hunter. He attacked the dog beside him. 1 bite, 1 shake. The dog yelped. It ran. Not toward the hunters. Away from them, into the woods, out of the fight. The other dog saw it run. Dogs are social animals. They follow each other always. 3 more dogs broke and ran with the first one. The hunter shouted at them, tried to call them back. The dogs ignored them completely and disappeared into the trees. 2 dogs remained. They were the brave ones, or the dumb ones. Either way, they were a problem. My mother moved next. She came out of the rocks behind one of them. She didn't kill it. She grabbed it by the back of the neck and shook it once. Then she let go. The dog ran. It didn't even look back. It just ran for its life. Smart dog. The last dog backed away, whimpering. It had seen enough. It turned and ran after the others. The hunters were now alone, surrounded by rocks, with no dogs left. I scanned them one by one. Their hearts were pounding. Their breathing was fast. Their hands were shaking. They had come hunting wolves. They had become the hunted. I locked onto the second hunter. Not him, his backpack. The glowing point appeared on the strap. I jumped from a different ledge. I yanked. The pack tore open. Ammunition spilled across the rocks. Bullets rolled down the slope. Small metal cylinders bounced and clattered into cracks where they couldn't be recovered easily. The hunter cursed. He scrambled after the ammunition. He grabbed maybe a third of it. The rest was gone, lost in the rocks. Useless to him now, useless to us also. The third hunter raised his rifle and aimed at the rocks. He didn't have a target. He just aimed. His hands were shaking too hard to hit anything anyway, really. The fourth hunter, the youngest, was already backing away. His eyes were wide. He had stopped pretending to be brave. He just wanted to go home. He was done with this. The Alpha appeared on a high rock above them. He didn't move. He didn't growl. He just stood there, massive, black, silent, staring down at the 4 humans below. The hunters froze. The lead hunter, the one who had lost his rifle, slowly stepped backward. Without taking his eyes off the Alpha, without making a sudden move, I felt the moment they decided. All 4 of them, almost at the same time. They decided to leave. They decided this forest was not worth it. They decided we had won. They retreated. Slowly at first, then faster. They left the rocky slope, they left the trail, they left the territory. Their footsteps faded into the distance steadily. I sat on my ledge and watched them go. With my mind, with my radar, with my whole strange new way of seeing. They didn't stop until they were 2 miles away. Then they kept going. Past 2 miles, past 3, past the edge of my radar. The warning in my head dimmed, then faded, then disappeared. Threat resolved. Online. The pack gathered around the Alpha at the rocky slope. They had won their first battle against humans. They didn't know what humans really were, but they knew now. They knew that the small blind pup had drawn lines in the dirt. They knew that the lines had worked. They knew that the strangers with the loud sticks were gone. The Alpha walked over to me. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he did something he had never done before. He pressed his nose against my forehead, not licked. A new word appeared in my head. Bigger than the bond marker. Brighter. Pack rank updated. Status, strategist. Position, second to Alpha. Second to the Alpha himself. 3 months in. A blind runt, a reincarnated office worker. Now the second in command of a 13 wolf pack in a frozen forest. My old boss would have hated this. That night, the pack ate together. 2 adults had brought back a deer while we were dealing with the hunters. We all ate well. Even me, especially me, actually. The Alpha let me eat second, after himself, before my mother. The hierarchy had been rewritten. Bruno watched from the edge. He didn't growl, he didn't move. He just watched. I knew that look. I had seen it before. It was the look of someone planning something. Not now, not soon, but eventually. Bruno was not done with me, not by a long shot. I made a note to bond with him at some point, if only to track him. The system didn't care if the bond was based on love or strategy. It just tracked. A useful tool. I lay down to sleep that night with my mother on one side and quiet on the other. The Alpha stayed near the entrance. The bond markers in my head glowed steady. Mother, father, quiet, yapper, even Bruno's faint, complicated bond. All 5 of them, all 5 lights, all 5 lives I had somehow made my responsibility now. Then the system gave me one final notification before I drifted off to sleep that night in the warmth of my pack and the safety of our first real victory together. Warning, new presence detected. Range, 3 miles. Identity, unknown. Threat level, high. Caution advised. This presence is not human, not wolf, not bear. Unknown. I stared at the warning for a long time. Then I closed my milky white eyes. Whatever was out there, 3 miles away, it would have to wait until tomorrow at least. Tonight, I had won. Tonight, my pack was safe. Tonight, I had become something I never thought I would become in either of my 2 lives. A leader, a protector, a wolf. A real wolf. Not the runt, not the blind mistake, not the office worker pretending to be one. A wolf, accepted, named, ranked, and loved by his pack. Drop a comment if you want to see what's hiding 3 miles out, or if you'd rather pack up and move the den right now while you still can do it safely. I dreamed about it, whatever it was. The unknown thing 3 miles out. I woke up before dawn with my fur standing on end and my radar already reaching outward. It was still there, closer now, 2.5 miles, moving slowly, patient. The warning in my head pulsed, steady. Unknown presence, threat level, high, closing. I didn't wake the pack. Not yet. I needed information first. I needed to understand what I was looking at before I asked the Alpha to make any decisions about it. I slipped out of the den. The forest before dawn was even quieter than yesterday. Like the trees themselves knew something was coming and had stopped whispering. I climbed to the highest rock outcrop near the den, a spot I had scouted but never used. From here, my radar could reach further. The elevation helped my range somehow. I pushed my range to 80 feet, then 90, then 100. The headache started early. I pushed past it. I needed to feel this thing. I needed to know its shape. 110 feet. Blood started dripping from my nose. I kept going. 120. The world bloomed open, and there, at the edge of my mind, I felt it. The shape was wrong. It was not a bear. It was not a wolf. It was not even close to either. The outline shifted as I focused on it, like it didn't want to be seen. Like it knew I was looking. My fur stood up all the way down my spine. The radar showed me something the size of a small horse. 4 legs, long body, strange head shape, and glowing. Not warm glowing like a normal living creature. Cold glowing, like ice. Like the thing was made of something that didn't belong in a regular forest at all. I pulled my radar back. The pain in my head faded. The blood on my nose was warm against my fur. I shook it off. I sat down. I tried to think clearly about this. In my old life, I'd been a man of facts, spreadsheets, numbers, code. I had not believed in ghosts, monsters, or magical creatures. I had laughed at people who did. In my new life, I was a blind wolf with an RPG system glowing inside my skull, who had killed a bear in one bite with a glowing weak point. So, about my old beliefs. They were updated now. I was open to new possibilities, including the possibility that this forest contained something that did not belong in any nature documentary. I went back to the den. The Alpha was already awake. He had felt me leave. He had felt me come back. He looked at me. I looked at him. He understood. Trouble coming. I drew in the dirt again. A new shape this time. Not human, not bear. Something with 4 legs, a long body, and a strange head. I added question marks. 3 of them. The Alpha studied the drawing. His ears went flat against his head. Then they went back up, then flat again. Whatever this thing was, he recognized it. Or he feared it. He made a sound. Long, mournful. The kind of sound wolves make when something old and bad comes back into the woods. The kind of sound that doesn't need translation. My mother came out of the den. She saw the drawing. She made the same sound. So did the 2 older adults. Even Quiet, who couldn't have known what it was, whined too. The whole pack knew this shape. Or at least the older members did. They had a name for it in their own way. A sound. Something between a growl and a warning howl. I made a sound back. A question-shaped sound. What is it? The Alpha didn't answer. He just looked at the drawing. Then at me. Then at the forest. Then at the drawing. I tried a different approach. I scanned my system. I focused on the memory of the thing's outline. The cold glow. The shifting shape. And I asked the system silently. Searching. The word appeared in my head. Database scan in progress. I had a database now, apparently. The system kept finding new features every time I needed one. Then a result appeared. Entity identified. Frost Wraith. Rank A. Threat high. Note: rare apex predator. Hunts in winter. Drains life force through prolonged contact. I stared at the words for a long time. A Frost Wraith. A creature that drained life. An apex predator with rank A. Above bears. Above hunters. Above anything I had faced. So this was not a forest. Or rather, this was not just a forest. This was a world. With creatures. With ranks. With levels. The system had been quiet about all of this. Now I understood why. The system gave information when I needed it. When I was ready for it. When ignoring it would kill me. It had been training me before this moment. The bear had been a C-rank target. The rabbit had been C. The bird had been D. The hunters had been B. And now 3 miles out, an A-rank predator was walking toward us. My pack could not fight this thing. Not as a pack. Not even with my system. SSS could only be used once before I nearly died. And one strike against an A-rank might not work. I needed a different plan. I needed time. I needed to understand more about this creature before I decided anything. I needed to know if running was even possible at all. I scanned again, carefully. The Frost Wraith had moved closer. 2 miles now. It was not in a hurry. It was tracking something. Or someone. Probably us. Probably me. The bear had been an accident. Bears wandered. Hunters came for wolves in general, but this thing, this Frost Wraith, it was coming with purpose. It had a target. I had a theory. The system had appeared in me 3 months ago. I had used SSS once. I had triggered a system that nobody else in this forest had access to or even saw. What if other entities could feel that? What if A-rank predators were drawn to things like me? What if killing the bear had made me visible to something much worse now? I would have to deal with that thought later. For now, I had to make a plan. The Alpha was watching me. The pack was watching me. The whole forest was holding its breath. I drew again. This time, I drew the den. Then I drew an arrow. Then I drew a long line away from the den, going west. I tapped the line 3 times with my paw. Move. We had to move, not run. Move, pack up the den, relocate. The Frost Wraith was tracking a location. If the location was empty when it arrived, we would buy ourselves time. The Alpha understood immediately. He made a sound, a specific one. The pack moved. Wolves grabbed pups by the scruff. The 2 oldest wolves walked first. Quiet ran beside me. We left the den. We left the cave that had been home for 3 months. We left the place where I had been born for the second time. And we walked west into the forest. I led the way. My mother walked next to me. The Alpha brought up the rear. He was the strongest. He would meet the Frost Wraith first if it caught up to us in the snow. I didn't want that. I didn't want him to fight that thing. I wanted us to outrun it, to outsmart it, to find a place where it couldn't find us. But I didn't have a place. I scanned ahead as I walked. I looked for caves, hollows, rocky places where a pack could hide. The forest opened up in my radar like a slow-loading map of every option. 2 miles west, I found something. A cave system. Multiple chambers, multiple exits, 3 rivers running nearby. The water would mask our scent if we crossed them right. I tapped the Alpha's shoulder with my paw. I pointed with my nose toward the west. He nodded. We picked up the pace. The pack started a trot. The pups whined a little, but they kept up. Pack wolves are tough, even at 3 months old. Even Quiet, who was the smallest, didn't fall behind. I bonded with him a little tighter as we ran. The bond marker for Quiet flared in my head. Trust high. He felt the bond too. I felt his trust like a small warm fire next to my heart. He believed in me completely. That made me move faster. Not because I was scared. Because I was responsible. There's no fuel stronger than knowing someone is trusting you with their entire life now. We crossed the first river. The pack moved through the cold water without complaint. The pups were carried by the adults. I crossed last with my mother right behind me. We crossed the second river 10 minutes later, then the third. Each crossing broke our scent trail. Each crossing bought us more time. Each crossing made the wraith slower, but I felt it in my radar. Still coming, still tracking. Whatever this thing used to find prey, it was not normal scent. It was something else, something my rivers couldn't stop. We reached the new cave system at midday. The Alpha cleared it fast, empty, no other predators inside. Good caves, multiple exits, defensible. We moved the pack in. The pups collapsed into a tired pile in the deepest chamber. My mother lay down next to them, keeping watch. The Alpha stood at the entrance. I sat next to him. We waited. I pushed my radar back toward the east. I felt for the frost wraith. It was still coming, 3 miles out now, slower, confused, looking for the scent it had been following, but it would find us, eventually. I knew it the way you know a piece of bad news before someone tells you. The wraith was not going to give up, not for any reason at all. So I had to make a different choice. I could not outrun it. I could not hide from it. I had to fight it. And I had to fight it in a way that didn't kill my whole pack. That meant alone, or almost alone. I needed someone with me, someone strong, someone who trusted me, someone who could carry me back if things went wrong out there. I looked at the Alpha. He looked at me. He had been watching me think. He understood. He always understood. Wolves don't need words to know what their leaders are deciding. I drew one more diagram in the dirt at the entrance of the new cave. 2 figures, one small, one large, going east toward the frost wraith, away from the rest of the pack. The Alpha looked at the drawing for a long time. He looked at my mother. She made a sound. He made a sound back. She didn't want him to go. She knew what I was asking for, but she also knew there was no other way. She closed her eyes for a long second. Then she stood up. She walked to the Alpha. She pressed her forehead against his neck once. Then she turned and walked back to the pups. She lay down with them. She did not look back. Wolves don't say goodbye the way humans do, but that had been a goodbye anyway. The Alpha and I left the new den. We walked east, back toward the danger we had spent the morning running from. 2 wolves against an A-rank predator. The math was bad, but the math was always bad. I had been bad math since the day I died falling out of an office chair. Bad math was my entire second life. Bad math was something I worked with. We walked for an hour. The frost wraith had moved closer while we relocated. It was now only about 1.5 miles from where we walked. We stopped on a small hill. I scanned the area. There was a frozen lake about 1/2 mile east. Open ground, bad cover, but also bad cover for the wraith. If it wanted me, it would have to come to me. I led the Alpha to the lake. We walked out onto the ice. It was thick, solid. The Alpha tested it with his paws. Safe. I positioned us in the middle of the frozen lake. The wraith would have to cross open ice to reach us. Its glowing cold body would be visible against the white. Its movements would be slow on slippery ground. Our advantage. The Alpha sat next to me. He was calm. He had decided he was going to fight whatever came. He didn't know what was coming. He didn't care. He was the Alpha. That was enough. I sat next to him. My mind was racing. I was reviewing every piece of the system I had unlocked so far. Every trick, every cost, every limit, every possible combination. Lock-on could mark weak points, even on creatures I had never seen before. The bear had taught me that. So the Frost Wraith would have a weak point. I just had to find it. SSS Strike could deliver a one-shot kill, but the cost was nearly fatal. I would need backup to survive. The Alpha was here. He could carry me back. That part was solved. The bond system tracked allies. I could use it to coordinate, even at distance. If I needed the Alpha to act at a specific moment, I could send him a feeling through the bond. The radar reached 100 feet comfortably, 120 if I pushed it. Enough to scan the Wraith as it approached, enough to track its movements precisely. I had tools, I had a plan, I had backup, I had practiced, I had survived a bear, I had outsmarted hunters. I had built a system inside my head from scratch in 3 months. Now it was time to test all of it. Against an A-rank apex predator, with my own life on the line, with my father's life on the line, with my pack's survival depending on me. The Wraith arrived at the edge of the lake. I felt it before I saw it in my radar. Its cold, glowing outline was sharper now, closer. The shape was somehow worse up close, long, lean, 4 legs that bent the wrong way. A head that looked stretched. No eyes that I could feel, just a strange empty hole where eyes should have been on its face. It stopped at the edge of the ice. It was thinking. It was deciding whether to cross open ground. Wraiths apparently had brains. Wraiths apparently understood tactical positioning. The Alpha let out a low growl beside me. He wanted to charge it. I put my paw on his leg. Wait, not yet. Let it come to us. Let it commit to the bad position. Then we move. The Wraith took 1 step onto the ice. The ice did not crack. It was light. Lighter than it should have been for something its size, like the cold had hollowed it out somehow. It took another step, then another. It moved faster than I expected, smooth, almost gliding. The cold pulse from its body washed across the ice like winter mist creeping forward. I scanned it harder. I locked on. Lock on engaged. Target, Frost Wraith. Rank, A, cost, high, weak point detected. A point glowed, not on the neck, not on the body, on the inside of its mouth, specifically somewhere deep in the throat. The weak point was internal. I would have to get my teeth past those terrible jaws to hit it cleanly. This was going to be very, very stupid, even by my standards. And my standards were already low. I had once died because of a coffee mug, after all. Stupid was my brand. I sent a feeling through the bond to the alpha, a specific feeling. The feeling of waiting, then charging from the side. He felt it. I felt him understand. He shifted his stance. The wraith got closer. 20 feet, 15, 10. Its gold pulse was rolling over us now. My fur was frosting at the tips. The alpha's breath came out in heavy white clouds. 8 feet, 6, 4. I locked on harder. The weak point pulsed brighter. The system whispered the same warning it had whispered with the bear. SSS available, cost, critical. 2 feet. The wraith opened its mouth. Long teeth glittered inside. Cold breath like a blizzard rolled out toward us in a single wave. Its jaws moved toward my small body. I sent the signal through the bond. Now. The alpha exploded forward. He hit the wraith from the side at full sprint. His massive black shape slammed into its frozen ribs. The wraith twisted. Its jaws were yanked off course by the impact. Its open mouth tilted upward. The weak point inside its throat was exposed for 1/2 second of time. I jumped. I locked onto the weak point. SSS engaged. Strike incoming. My tiny blind body shot through the air directly into the open mouth of an A-rank apex predator. This was not going on my resume. I had a brief flash of my old LinkedIn profile updating itself. Senior software engineer. Hobbies, dying inside the mouth of a monster. My teeth hit the weak point. The system pulled all my strength into one perfect bite. The wraith screamed. The scream came out of its mouth around my entire body somehow. The cold tried to drain me. I felt it pulling at my life force. I felt the system pushing back. The strike took everything I had ever had, every bit of it. The wraith collapsed. Its frozen body hit the ice. The ice cracked. The wraith fell partway through. Its head and front legs went into the freezing water below the surface. I fell out of its mouth. I hit the ice. I didn't feel my body anymore. Everything was numb. Everything was distant. I heard the alpha's voice from far away. I heard him panic. I felt his nose against my face. I felt his tongue trying to warm me. I felt him pick me up by the scruff. I felt him running. Across the ice, back toward the new den, slowly. The world faded. The bonds in my head flickered. Mother, father, quiet, yapper, Bruno. 5 lights, 5 lives. Still there. Still mine. Still safe because of what I just did. I let myself drift. I had done my job. The pack was safe. The wraith was dead. The strike had worked. Whatever happened next, I had paid the price I needed to pay for them. Then I felt warmth. Real warmth. The kind that doesn't come from outside. The kind that comes from being surrounded by your own family inside a cave you had picked yourself. I woke up. Slowly. My eyes were closed, like always. But the radar was on. Faint. Weak. But on. The bonds were all there. All 5 of them. All bright. All alive. All home. My mother was curled around me. The alpha was at my head. Quiet was pressed against my belly. Yapper and the other pups slept in a pile nearby. The whole pack was here. I had survived. Somehow. Against all the math. Against an A-rank predator. Against the cost of 2 SSS strikes in less than a week. I was alive. And I was not alone now. The system gave me one more notification. Small. Quiet. Almost gentle this time. Pack rank updated. Status. Pack heart. Position. Trusted by all. Bond capacity. Increased. Pack heart. Not strategist. Not hunter. Not second. Heart. The thing the pack was built around. The thing the pack would protect with everything they had now and forever. I lay in the warmth and let the word settle. Pack heart. Daniel Reyes had spent 31 years feeling like he didn't belong anywhere in the entire human world at all. Now, in a small cave, in a frozen forest, in a body the universe had built specifically wrong for survival, I was the heart of something that loved me back completely. I had died because of a coffee mug. I had been reborn as a blind wolf pup. I had nearly been eaten by a bear. I had outsmarted hunters with their dogs and their guns. I had killed a frost wraith. And somewhere along the way, between the panic and the planning and the bonds and the bites, I had become someone I had never been in my first life. A person who mattered. A wolf who mattered. To other wolves. To a family I had chosen. To a forest that had chosen me back. To a system that had given me a second chance and trusted me to use it well. I closed my milky white eyes and let the warmth carry me into sleep. Outside, the forest was quiet again. The wraith was gone. The hunters were gone. The bear was gone now. Tomorrow there would be new things. New threats. New levels. New ranks. New systems to unlock. And new lessons to learn from a world that kept getting bigger every day. But tonight, my pack was alive. My father had carried me home. My mother had held me through the cold. My brothers and sisters were sleeping in a pile around my small body. And the blind wolf, the reincarnated office worker, the runt who should have died in the snow on day 1, was exactly where he was supposed to be after both of his lives. Home. The word filled my chest in a way no apartment ever had. No paycheck. No promotion. No quiet evening alone with a screen. Just this. Fur, family, breath, belonging. I had spent my whole first life looking for something I couldn't name. I had spent 3 months of my second life nearly dying to earn it. And now I had it. Finally, I had it. My mother shifted in her sleep and curled tighter around me. The alpha pressed his nose to my forehead one more time, then settled down at the entrance to watch the night. Quiet snored against my belly. Yapper kicked in his dreams. Even Bruno on the far side of the cave had moved closer. Not next to me, but closer than yesterday. Progress. I let out one long breath. The kind of breath you take when you finally stop fighting. The kind of breath that says, I am safe, I am home. I made it through. For now. For now. Because tomorrow the system would have new warnings. Tomorrow the forest would have new threats. Tomorrow the bonds in my head would face new tests of their strength. But that was tomorrow. Tonight, the blind wolf slept. And in his sleep, for the first time in either of his 2 lives, Daniel Reyes was finally, completely, perfectly happy. Drop a comment with 1 word. Just 1. Tell me how this story made you feel. And subscribe if you want to see what the blind wolf takes on next in this strange new world.